was having trouble connecting. I don't know why. Something like glitched with the app, but I am here now. So, hey Nikhil, welcome, welcome. Yeah, so this live, and I know more people will be jumping on here. This how it always works. Come on, and more people are jumping on as we go. But um, but yeah, so today we're going to be talking about something that I've been reflecting on for a bit now, and it's not talked about a lot in philosophical texts, but there are philosophers whose ideas are kind of in alignment with what I'm going to be talking about, and it's just about saying no. It's about saying no, and a lot of times I know I've found myself in situations where you're pulled in a lot of directions, right? And I think in our modern world especially, we're pulled in many, many, many different directions. Even if you just have a kind of quote unquote normal life, you're pulled in different directions. One, by social media, then you have, family expectations. You might have social obligations, or feeling like you should spend time with certain friends, and then you might have certain, either as academic goals or professional goals, career goals. You may have, and here's the thing: there's so much noise. The magical word is no. The magical word is no. Hey Akash, hey Don Parse G, welcome, welcome. The magical word is no, right? That word is no. Um, because here's the thing: where's the time for yourself? Where's the consideration for yourself? There is so much noise now in our modern world. It's almost it at times it becomes almost impossible to get to know yourself. And I think so many philosophers have said this, but it's almost a cliche to say that Socrates talked about know thyself. Well, it was actually on the temple. I think it was on the temple of Delphi. It said know thyself, but that's true. And I actually believe, for various reasons, psychological, there's evidence, psychological evidence, neurophysiological evidence that suggests this, certainly philosophical texts which talk about this, that self-knowledge is a really important component of flourishing, human flourishing. You got to ask yourself, how much time are you spending? Do you have dedicated times to really reflect on yourself, get to know yourself? Do you have experiences that you engage in to get to know yourself? And why does that have to? And Akash, it's a great question. I'll ask. I'll answer in a moment. But how does that relate to saying no? Well, the more you say no to people, and you refuse. I'll give you an example. I have a lot of people who reach out for, you know, they want to pitch me services and things like that for my YouTube channel, and then I have other people who want my attention, like hang out even, or something like that, and I have to say no. Like there's a certain point where I have to say, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna, I really want to just relax. I really just want to take some time and just dedicate it to some self-reflection, some journaling, maybe just get away and travel somewhere that I haven't been before. Maybe go for a hike and really just center myself, right? If you don't take opportunities to say no to people sometimes, even if it hurts, and it will hurt in many cases, it will. Even if you do not do that, you will lose yourself. You will lose yourself. Um, you know, Many of us don't even know who we are, or have no sense of self, no sense of ourselves. It's in those moments of silence and mindfulness that we're able to do that, right? So, Akash, you said, where do you draw the line between planning it and doing it? So, I would say the line is actually an illusory. Uh, know thyself, but it's too philosophical. No, knowing yourself, yeah, it's not even too philosophical. It's not too philosophical. Just on a practical sense, do you actually really know what you want? A lot of people, we're chasing our desires, and we're doing things that we think we want, but we're not really reflecting on what we want. Akash, I'll come back to you in a moment. So we're not really reflecting on what we want, and we're just chasing things and shiny objects, right? And this is really, really practical. But if we reflect and we say, well, do I really want that? This is what's called reflective agency. Do I really want that? Do I really value that? Right? I mean, when was the last time you really thought about that? Right? And it's a good question. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. But it's really when you have silence. And I say this in a physical way and also a metaphorical way. When you have silence, you don't have distractions. You can really focus on that. Done parse G. So yeah, C2 plus English listening practice. That's great. I'm glad I'm helping you improve your English. That's awesome. I'm trying to improve other languages that I speak too. What's your native language? I'm curious. So I love to learn different languages. But Akash, let me come back to your question. Where do you draw the line between planning it and doing it? Oh, thank you, Nikhil. I'm improving everybody else's English, right? I don't know if I'm improving my other language skills, but I'm helping you improve your English, so it's important. It's good. I like that. But I don't know any Hindi. That's the thing. And now you make me want to maybe learn a little bit of Hindi or something, right? And so maybe yeah. So anyway, let me get back to Akasha's question here. Where do you draw the line between planning it and doing it? I actually think that you need to. I think you need to do while you're planning. People use planning as a lot of procrastination. Oh, Spanish. Awesome. Mi español no es bueno, pero aprendo, I think. Yeah. So, a bit. Un poquito español. So, yeah, you live in Philly. Philly is my hometown, by the way. It's like I grew up around Philadelphia. So, you live around where I grew up. So, very, very cool. Love Philly. Love Philly. I love going back and visiting Philadelphia. If you have, if anybody on this live stream ever has an opportunity to go back and visit Philadelphia, it's a really awesome city. I really love it. It's very historical. Yeah, it has a very old kind of vibe in certain places. But anyway, Akash, sorry, I'm getting distracted, Akash, because I have so many comments here. So, but let me answer you, Akash, fully, because it's a very important question. Um, I have gotten into the habit over the years, especially, and I would say in business, especially running businesses, and I'm very in favor of entrepreneurship. I know like a lot of academics are not don't like entrepreneurship, or they have it, but that it's because they have I think have a certain viewpoint of it. You know, they think of it in a certain way, and it's a more complex conversation. But you know, even well, anyway, I'll leave it for another conversation. But I'm really into entrepreneurship, and one of the things that I believe that one of the reasons I'm into entrepreneurship, and this relates to your question, is because I want independence. I want freedom. I don't want to have a boss. I never want to have a boss. I never want to listen to somebody else who tells me when I can go to the bathroom, when I can eat, right? I don't like that. I just don't like it. So I don't want to have anybody lording over me and telling me what to do. And so I like that independence. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But with respect to running a business specifically and experience with that, it takes a lot of courage, I think, and it's very scary to act before you have a plan many times. But think about it this way: in order to have a plan, how do you have a plan if you don't have data? Right? We say, oh, you know, make a plan based on really data-driven approaches, and that's really, really great. But how do you plan if you don't have any data? Just a very basic example. If you have let's say a sales conversion ratio or something like that, or you have a marketing conversion ratio, right? And you can apply this to anything that you're doing. It doesn't have to be, this can be academic, it could be intellectual goals that you have. If you don't have some action that you've taken in the first place and some data up front to kind of assess, well, when I do this thing repeatedly, what's my conversion ratio, right? What's my result? If you don't have that data, how are you supposed to plan accurately? And so I recall when I was doing, like, when I actually first started my businesses, and for a couple of years, and I really failed big time. I really failed hard. One of the things that I was really great at was planning. And Push Funjali, welcome, welcome. Hi back. One of the things I was really great at was planning. And because I come from a background of really, like, this analytical approach to everything, academic approach. And so I was really good at running the numbers, and here's how many numbers I'll need on this assumption, and here's what ratio this will be over what period of time, and even we can create some sort of time series model where there's like seasonality, dependence, during this time of year, and then during this time of year you have a different ratio. Like, you can get very complicated with the planning, and the planning can be endless. So, but what happened was I was doing so much planning, and I realized I was doing the planning as a kind of a substitute for action, because I was too afraid. I was too afraid to make mistakes. I was afraid to, make all these mistakes, right? And so people have it backwards. Action and planning, they go together. They happen at the same time. So, and you can almost think of it like this. If you have a plan, if you're planning and you have no action being done at the same time, it's not even real planning. It's fake planning. And it goes on the flip side too. If you're doing all action and you're not doing some analysis, you're not doing some planning, it's not real action, so to speak. It's just aimlessness. It's stupidity, in a sense. Just going around doing whatever, and you're not tracking, you're not organizing and tracking the results, and that's a big thing. Like, we need to be relating it back to this topic of the live stream. We need to be willing to make mistakes, and we need to embrace making mistakes. We have this ingrained, and I'll get back to the topic and how this relates to our live stream topic, but we are so programmed, and I think it has to do with how we are trained in school and things like that. I don't want to blame the school system entirely, but there is a lot of this in school, where there's this mentality of that if you make a mistake, then you are, in some way inferior, and if you don't make mistakes, then you're oh, this amazing person, right? You're flawless. You don't make any mistakes. But I don't want to curse on this live stream, but that's BS. It's total BS. Right? The more mistakes you make, the better. And I actually, with all my students that I've ever taught, and I still teach. I still have private students that I teach. I actually regularly emphasize with them, oh, you got like half of the questions wrong. Awesome. That's awesome. Like, I train them to think that's awesome, right? You got all these questions wrong. Wow, that's amazing, right? I rewire their understanding. I'm trying to rewire the associations for them of understanding what's a good result. It's a good result when you get lots of questions wrong. Why? It reveals information for us. It reveals more information. It reveals more data for us. And if we can pretend. I could give you all the easy questions, and we could go over all the easy material, and you can do a lot of great pretending that you're this great person, right? How many people do you know who are like this? And you can do that. You can pretend all you want, and you will satisfy your ego. You'll never truly grow, though. And so the idea here is embrace, you have to almost retrain your mind to have, true, right? You'll take no action. That's true, Nikhil. Yeah. You actually have to train your mind. Actually, there is a good book back when I was doing a lot of like sales stuff, just like sales appointments after sales appointments after sales appointments. There was a really good book that really helps me. Honestly, it's like a self-help book, but it really helps me retrain how I was seeing rejection and failure, and helped me motivate me to move forward. And it's a book. It's a simple book, short book. It's called Go for No, and I forget who the author is, but it's Go for No. Hey Farzan, welcome. Go for No, and what this does is it's in a story format, and it's just the premise of it. I'll just give you the premise of it. The premise of it is it is that these people are kind of in whatever, I think it's like in an insurance sales whatever company or whatever, and they're selling over the phone, right? They're calling people up, they're selling over the phone, and um, and basically their goal, they flip it around. Instead of getting a goal to like how many yeses can I get this week, how many people can I close this week on a sale, they develop the reverse goal. How many no's can I get? And if I didn't get enough no's, if I didn't hit that no goal and I got a yes, I failed at my goal. And so I need to get another no. And so it's actually a way, and you can apply this to lots of areas of your life. It doesn't have to be whatever, sales and marketing and academics, right? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about learning, for instance, on your intellectual journey, on your personal growth journey, and on your intellectual growth journey. How many books can you read, right, that you have no idea what they just said? You read it and you're totally overwhelmed and confused. How many times can you do that? That feels like failure. I'm going to tell you though, the more you do that, you can go read like 4 books, 5 books, and feel like, wow, I did not understand what the hell they were talking about. I did not understand what they were talking about. And yes, Nikhil, it can be very exciting. There are definitely ups, there are definitely hard downs, and the downs are very hard downs. But I would say it's worth it because again, what I value, and I'm very clear about what I value in my life. I would rather actually make, if I had to make this choice, I would rather make less money, being more independent, being free, not having a boss, than working in an environment where somebody tells me when I can go to the bathroom, and yells at me if I make a mistake, and all of that stuff. And so I'm very clear about what I value on that, right? Yeah. So Akash, but again, I respect. Not everybody values that. That's not everybody's primary value, and that's okay. I think what people often, there's a toxic side of this business culture and entrepreneurship culture that I see, like Graham Stephan and that. Okay, good stuff maybe, but like what you will see in a lot of these discussions, and Akash, I'll get to. No, well, there are actually times that yes, I did yell because things happen. Things happen that go really really wrong. But we won't go into that. Maybe that's a later discussion. But okay, not all the time. That was not my norm to yell. But communication is key. Good communication. Akash, I'll circle back to what you're saying. But yeah, what was my point here? I was talking about. Oh yeah. So the toxic side. There's a toxic side to this entrepreneurship content, and like we need to address this. It's incredibly prescriptive. Incredibly prescriptive. Here's the message usually is that, entrepreneurship is the best, and people who don't do entrepreneurship, they're losers, and and if you don't do entrepreneurship, and then you do anything else and whatever, then screw you, like you don't deserve a good life, you don't deserve anything. Like that's honestly, that's the messaging. But let's be real. Like most people won't want to follow an entrepreneurship path, and maybe that kind of independence, and that's not a primary value for them. And yes, we could say there are, okay, like right or wrong values. There are definitely wrong ones, I think, but this gets into a territory where it is very dangerous to prescribe this one life path for everybody. It is. It's just very like, and I've written my own philosophical work on this. I believe everybody has a different, what you call telos or purpose, life path. Um, it's hard, maybe even impossible, to judge the superiority of one path over the other. I don't think it's even epistemologically meaningful to talk about that. Superiority of one path versus another. I don't think as humans we can actually even know that, if it's knowable. Um, so the idea here is be careful. Be careful. What's most important is you get to know what is the right path for you. You get into very murky, difficult territory when you start to judge that for other people. And why? What's one of the primary reasons? Ask yourself, do you know, are you in the mind of that other person? Do you understand how they interpret meaning, value, and worth and self-worth, and you know do you understand how they're perceiving reality, even in the first place, how they're perceiving their actions, and so on and so forth? It's very, yeah, everybody's different. And I actually have this big the kind of this view of, for instance, intelligence and ability. I don't think we should be judging, maybe it's controversial, I don't think we should be judging ability and intelligence on only an individual basis. Sure, you should celebrate your individual abilities and things like that. But what's more relevant to a functioning society? What's more relevant to a functioning society? It's everybody's abilities combined, right? And so in that case, we want certain outcomes, so certain, social outcomes, right? I mean, the most basic ones, nonviolence, right? We don't want to be fighting each other all the time. I mean, this is a basic one. You can decide on what other outcomes you want, but that's a basic one that I think most of us can agree to. And so, okay, so how do we work together, right? Well, you have this ability. You're really good at maybe memory and processing speed. This other person is really good with the creative skill. This person does really well with, instruction, maybe metacognition. This other person does really well with mathematical and logical thinking. This other person does well with literary thinking. And all of these things, all of these skills are very important if you look at an organization, right? You look at a team of people, right? If you look at society kind of as a team of people, or even a community as a team of people, you're not going to do the best by just leveraging your own ability. You're going to do the best and perform the best by leveraging everybody's specialty and ability, right? And so, start looking at things. I think it's important to start looking at things, abilities, this way, because even the best, brightest, most intelligent person in a certain narrow aspect is probably not going to do very well without certain social supports, without certain collaborations, without certain partnerships, without certain other people's certain abilities and so forth, and resources and so forth. So anyway, it's getting into a longer discussion, but circling back to our original topic, okay, searching back, this does relate to our original topic, all right, which is the ability to say no. And how does this relate? The ability to say no, right? Well, we talked about self-knowledge, right, earlier at the beginning. Self-knowledge is important for all the things that we discussed here. All those types of human flourishing that we discussed, right? It's important for all of that. Fundamental to flourishing, fundamental to human flourishing. And there's a lot of evidence for this. I mean, yes, there's a lot of philosophical work done explaining this and all of that, but there's a lot of actual empirical evidence to support this idea that a foundation of human flourishing is self-knowledge. We lose ourselves so much with all the noise, right? With all the fake stuff, for lack of a better word, just fake shit, right? And you know, you have to schedule some times out to do that self-reflection. But the first thing is identify areas in your life where you're not saying no enough. People are demanding your attention maybe too much, People are demanding too much of you. I know sometimes I've been so nice. I've wanted to. I'll give you actually. Well, I'll give you another example. But like, I've been so nice to people. I recall some of my biggest mistakes have been where I've given somebody so many chances, like people that I'm working with or whatever. And it's obvious there are so many red flags. Like, this is not working out. But I don't want to be the bad guy. Like, I don't want to be somebody who, again, like you said, Nikhil, like yells at somebody and. But if you reframe things and say, well, change is good sometimes, and not working together could be the best thing for both of us. Not working on this task or not associating with each other could be the best thing, right? It could be the best thing for both people. And maybe by reframing, well, I don't want to be the bad guy. Maybe you actually are being a good guy or a good person. I shouldn't say, guy. I don't know how many, women we have on this. So, a good person, right? You could be the better person by maybe, cutting off a certain relationship, right? So let's take a look here, Nikhil. So you said, let's suppose you read a biography of any author and you get inspired by the author. You started to see yourself as the author. Yeah. So then you make your path to that profession. So it's inappropriate. So is it inappropriate because it's like quitting college? So yeah, it depends. It depends. Yeah, actually, there's a fine line here. Hey, Empresa, welcome. Hola, hola, bienvenidos, bienvenido. Oh, Sokaria, Sokaria. Hey guys, that is my editor, Sokaria. So great, great guy. Um, love to work with this guy. Great example of a guy, somebody I like to work with, somebody who does great work. So, but yeah, estoy aprendiendo español, pero mi español, empresa, mi español no es bueno. So I'm in the process of learning. So, but tell me where you're from. But Nikhil, so let's see. You said, yeah, you make a good point. So there's a difference between trying to completely mimic somebody's lifestyle, right? Like trying to be that person and copy that person entirely, and being, no, my Spanish is not very good. No, 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 it's not. But thank you for the compliment. But my Spanish is terrible. My French is better. My Mandarin is okay. My Spanish is just okay. Um, I can maybe survive in a Spanish speaking country. So I was in Mexico last, what, 2 years ago. I was in Guatemala, I think last year. I could speak basic stuff, right? But no more than that. No more than that. Um, anyway, so Nikhil, yeah, you don't want to just like totally mimic somebody, right? Um, yeah, and because you will lose yourself, you will lose your own personal identity in that, right? Mandarin, you want me to speak Mandarin? Okay.呃，我是要说什么？中文是要说什么？我不知道，但是我能说一点。Like that's I'm just saying some basic stuff. So, that's it. But Hindi is my next, maybe my next language. So maybe Nikhil, you can if you can point out some good Hindi resources, because you guys already know I love to learn stuff, right? I mean, it's obvious, right? Like I have the channel I have, right? For that reason, I love to learn stuff, but especially I love to learn languages. I think some languages that eventually I do want to learn are because it's like they're more widely applicable. Obviously, I want to learn more Spanish. That's probably really useful, like widely spoken language. I want to improve my Mandarin. Hindi, yeah, I want to get some Hindi. Probably also some Arabic, because Arabic is, again, it's just a very widely spoken language throughout the world. So it's useful. Why not, right? Try to learn some Arabic as well. So yeah, that's all I'll share today for today. But yeah, guys, feel free to check out my channel, subscribe, hang out with me every Wednesday at this time if you want. It's fun to talk about these types of things, and they're important topics. And also feel free to check out my Critical Thinking Academy if you want to work more closely with me individually and help individualize a plan for your learning and growth. Namaste, yeah, namaste, right? Yes, that's one that I do know. So, guys, all right, I will. My mind is blanking. I will catch you guys later. Have a great rest of your day and have a great rest of your week. I'll see you soon.